Welcome back to the Coach Business School. Let's go. My name is Andy Ramage. I'm the founder of the Coach Business School. I'll be your guide in this conversation today. And it's a topic that's an important one. It's that label of coach. What does it mean to be a coach? We go from one day being a normal person to a coach. What does that actually mean and feel like? And it's often full of fear and trepidation and uncertainty. And people have real resistance around, one day not being a coach and then the next day, da-da, they are a coach. And what does that mean? And how do they label themselves? And what will everyone think of them who has known them for the last however many years? And suddenly you turn up as a coach and they're like, oh God, you're one of those coachy types, are you now? And that means you must be all perfect. And we tell ourselves these stories which are fundamentally are not true. So let's spend a bit of time with that today in our conversation. And don't forget, if you enjoy this, always go to the coachbusiness.school, not .com, .school. There you'll find loads of opportunities to come and train with me, either to train on our full life stroke executive coach accreditation, which is our diploma in positive psychology and coaching psychology, which is the science behind coaching, which is a real big part of what we do. And also, if you are a qualified coach already, I am, and this is something we might change, but I'm still running my Coach MBA, which is all about business and marketing for qualified coaches. And we will also be running another alcohol-free performance coach specialism that's CPD accredited up to 40 hours, the max you can get. There'll be another one of them coming out soon, so do go to coachbusiness.school to find out more. All right, so let's get into it. This label of coach, what does that actually mean to you? What does it mean to me, for example? And what happens that one magical day that you're a normal person, a real human? We call them real humans when we train our coaches, and they start getting their first pro bono clients to practice. In the real world, we tend to call them real humans. Obviously, we're all real humans, but they're slightly more real humans because they're not in the practice arena of the coaching cohorts. So anyway, what is it like to go from not a coach to a coach? And many of us have been through that, right? And even the world's greatest coaches have gone from not a coach to a coach. Anthony Robbins wasn't a coach, was a coach. You name them, they've all done it, myself included. And I've got to admit, when I first stepped out of the coaching closet, as it were, I was full of bravery and courage. And I remember it very clearly. I put a post out on LinkedIn, and bearing in mind this is going back about 14 years, I put a post out on LinkedIn and promptly slammed the laptop, because I'd sent it via my laptop, and then I couldn't open that laptop for about 2 weeks. It's the truth. I had so much fear around not being a coach, becoming a coach. In the role that I was in, I was running a busy brokerage at the time, and I just thought, is this going to somehow muddy the waters? Are people going to look at me differently? And my life up until that point had been interesting, to say the least, in the sense that I'd been a professional footballer and then got injured and then travelled the world, and then I fell into this new world of broking, commodities broking. So my life, very much up until that point of training as a coach, was very larger than life, alcohol-fueled entertainer in many ways. And that was my role in broking, right? I saw it as my role to entertain clients, to be the fun party kind of guy. I put on a lot of weight, was unfit, unhealthy, wasn't really doing all the things that I should be doing. There was no podcast then. I was 3 stone, 42 pounds heavier than I am now, doing all the wrong things in truth. Now, on the face of it, I was still very successful within that business arena and that, monetary yardstick, as it were, but everything else was struggling across the board. So for me, there was that real sense of, friends and family, colleagues, clients, are they going to be looking at me going, hold on, is that the guy that I was, out drinking with 3 weeks ago, swinging off the chandeliers, and now he's this sort of coachy guy? So I had all that going on. So I found that really difficult, and I'm owning that for you all, right? Because wherever you are on your coaching adventure, you've either been through this or you're thinking about going through this. And I'm owning the fear around that, because I think identity change is difficult, right? We're fearful of change. You're going to come up against this a lot in coaching, right? We would, as W.H. Jordan says, to paraphrase the brilliant English poet, we would rather die in our dread than change. I just love that old word, that dread. Die now, dread, then change. But it's some change up, doesn't it, across the board? Whether someone's trying to change their relationship with alcohol, change a relationship, change a career, change their identity as such. And coaching is a transformation in many ways in one's identity. We go from being a normal human to a coach. So let's talk about that. And for me, it's a wonderful metamorphosis. I was talking about that word today. I have a drinks brand, and this is not an advert for the drinks brand, but I was just talking about it today with the co-founder, Mike Moody. And we were talking about Authentic Brew, which is the name of the drink, as not just a drink. It's a metamorphosis. It's like a changing. It's a blossoming. It's a caterpillar to butterfly. And I think coaching, and we were talking about it, and he was looking at me, and I knew he knew what I was thinking. And I was thinking, that's coaching. That's that same adventure that we go on, right? It's a metamorphosis. We go from a caterpillar into like a butterfly in many ways. And that adventure is so full of reward and challenge and insights and introspection. But at some point, the caterpillar has to look in the mirror and go, I think I'm sort of a butterfly now, and own it, right? The butterfly can't still do the caterpillar stuff and vice versa. And I think there's a bit of that goes on with coaching. So there is that sense of rebirth, rebuilding when it comes to coaching, and then we suddenly carry this new like label thing that we've walloped on ourselves that some I think carry as if it's a weight around their shoulders rather than allowing it to be something that allows them to fly, essentially. So I think there's a bit of getting used to it and getting comfortable with it, and it's a bit uncomfortable at first for all the reasons I just mentioned. I think lots of people carry that, well, they knew me then, so they're going to think, less of me, or think I'm being silly or unrealistic, or who do I think I am? All those type of common thoughts and fears that we carry. And what I find, almost without exception, every single one of those fears is unfounded. So here's a great coaching truth that you either know or you'll get to know. If I'm coaching a client and they talk about the future like it's a fact, I know instantly I'm going to challenge them, because the future is not decided. It might be a guess as to what might happen, but it's still a guess because the future is undecided. That is a fact. And very often we do the same because we fall into our own traps. We start to talk about the future like it's a fact. So we might say things like, well, if I come out the coaching closet and put a post out on LinkedIn, for example, bearing in mind that was all going in my head 14 years ago. So I'm owning it. I'm just trying to make the process much easier, excitable and enjoyable for you. It's in the future, right? So all my fears were future based. My fears were someone's going to read that article and think, hold on, I was out with Andy a couple of weeks ago. Who does he think he is? That was my kind of mindset, right? Now, think about it. With that mindset, it was completely made up. How's that going to make me feel? Fearful, right? That's why I slammed the laptop, didn't go near it for 2 weeks. The actions that lead to in terms of that fear, well, one, most people won't even put the post out because it becomes too fearful, or they put the post out like me, slam the laptop, don't go back to it for 2 weeks. And then even when I did, it was sort of like, almost looking through my fingers as to see who had commented and replied. And of course, the reality is when you meet with it, almost without exception, people just cheer you on and go, that's so cool, or they just don't care. Is another brutal, wonderful truth. People just don't care because they're too busy with their own life to really care that much that suddenly you've become a coach. And the ones that do care. So that's perfect, right? That's all you want. A couple of people will cheer you on. The rest will probably just pass on by. They might pass it a glance. And the truth is this, especially if it's anything social media based, most people are not ever going to see it anyway, unless you put out numerous posts. Then they'll figure it out. So that sort of stepping over the line from normal person into coach, I think, carries a lot more weight than it deserves. In fact, most people don't care, or they'll cheer you on anyway. And then you can lean into it, right? Come on. That's what this is about. This is about a metamorphosis. This is about you going on an amazing life adventure. And here's what I want to get to, the label, the word, term, coach, whatever way you want to present it. And we've had discussions about that before in previous episodes, whether you use the word coach or you create your own word that defines who you are, a life strategist. For example, maybe you're an executive coach, a life coach, an alcohol-free performance coach. Maybe you drop all of those, and those people that students that train with us on our diploma get the added benefit of being able to call themselves positive psychologists. So maybe it's positive psychologist, maybe it's coach, maybe it's none of those words. You should come up with your own word. But whatever it is, it signifies a change, an evolution in your character. Something has happened. You are going on a new life adventure. You are not going to be the same person in 6 months' time you were 6 months ago. Unlike most adults, they get stuck in that one definition of themselves and they can't get out of it. They're that kind of a person, that kind of a guy. For me, the trap that I almost got stuck in forever was that I was the larger-than-life entertainer that loved a drink, would be a good way to describe me. And I always remember my mentor, my hero in the broken world at one point, took me to one side and I was having conversations with him because my life was changing. I was really thinking about stopping drinking, which I did some 12 years ago. But I wanted to study, I wanted to learn, I wanted to develop, I wanted to grow. And I sat him down and we had a conversation over lunch. And I said to him, look, I want to go and do an MBA. I want to run this company in a few years. Now, I guarantee you two things. Not one broker had ever sat him down and said, I want to do an MBA. And the second, I'm pretty sure not many of them had the courage to say to him, I want to run this business one day. So two really courageous things in one act. Because my life was changing, right? My mind was exploding. I trained just prior to that in my coaching, so I just started to think and challenge my own thinking and beliefs, and my world was opening up in a massive way. And his response to that was both wise but completely wrong. So his response was, Andy, don't try and be someone that you are not, was his response. Now, he was talking to the version of Andy that he'd got to know over the last 10 years, that had been really successful as a broker, being that larger-than-life character. He was talking to that version of me. He made the mistake of assuming we don't evolve, we don't change. Therefore, that's the version I'm talking to. So the version then was in front of him saying, I want to develop myself, I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to study, I want to run this business at some point. It didn't match. So whilst his wisdom was don't try and be someone you're not, he completely misunderstood the point, which was that that person wasn't actually me. That was a mask that I was put on to be quote unquote successful in a certain way, in a certain arena. Let's say the real, like the chrysalis had formed, right? And that caterpillar was hopefully going to blossom into this beautiful ginger butterfly that you see before you if you're watching this through this coaching adventure. So for me, whilst his wisdom was right, it was also equally wrong. And I think that's true of all of us, right? We want to evolve and grow. Most adults just get stuck in their story and they never get out. So they get stuck in that story of being that larger-than-life character, and they're like, well, I can never leave that character because that character is why everyone likes me, loves me, does business with me. I've got to stay as that person, even though it's not serving me, even though it's keeping me trapped, affecting my health, making me inconsistent, not the parent I want to be, not the partner that I want to be, not giving me the time and space to study and learn and evolve and grow. So they stay stuck and then resentful and regretful for the balance of their days. Whereas us coaches, right, we are going on this mega life adventure, this blossoming into the butterflies that we're meant to be. We're going to challenge that conventional thinking all the way through, maybe create a completely new career, part-time, full-time, side business, whatever it is, that allows you to go and do good in the world, that allows you to skill up and learn and develop and iterate and grow. That's the adventure that I want to go on. That's the adventure that coaching takes us on, because once you've got over that little hurdle of stepping away from being a normal person into now a coach, it's gloves off. You're free to learn and develop and grow, right? People know now that you're a coach. They get over themselves and you get over the fact that they don't care, or the ones that do care. And then that gives you all this lovely space, time and courage to go for it. Whatever that looks like for you, go on this learning journey. And it might mean that you drift and twist and turn and ebb and flow and shape and shift into completely different arenas and leave that coaching label long behind, and you become an entrepreneur, or you run a podcast, you become an author, you stand on stages, a TED talker, whatever it is for you. What a gift to step out from the norm. And it begins with that courage of stepping into that term of coach or whatever you decide to do, because it puts a line in the sand. I'm on a different adventure. I'm going somewhere that maybe many of you are not. I'm going to challenge myself and test myself. I'm going to build my own life philosophy. I'm going to really think and reflect what's important to me. How can I make the most impact in this world? How can I give back to others and help others flourish and thrive? That's what coaching's about. And I think people miss that point all the time. They get so caught up in their head about normal person to coach. Forget all that. It's a marker in the sand. It's a message to everyone that knows and loves you. You are about to go on a completely different life adventure, and then embrace it. Let the adventure unfold. Like, again, as a coach of now 14 years, my adventure continues to evolve all the time. It's now, becoming more and more entrepreneurial. I have a documentary movie coming out. Who would have thought? Like, all these things I can never have predicted in those early days. But stepping into this arena, suddenly your life unfolds in a completely new way because you're ready to embrace it. You haven't got that fear, that lid of conventional fear that sits on top of you saying you can't change, you have to stay the same. It's gone. And then everything is open. And here's another great truth. What I found about that was that it took me about 6 months when I made some of those big changes in my life, career and colleagues and whatnot. And one of them was to quit alcohol along the way. Started to get fit and healthy, lost all the weight, the 42 pounds, everything started to change in my life. And what amazed me was that within 6 months, that's all it took, 6 months. And bearing in mind, like most of my life leading up to that had been that one character, that larger than life sort of boozy character. In 6 months, I went from being the sort of big boozer broker to the health guy. I was like the health and wellness guy. I was like the fit guy in that industry. Like, if you wanted to talk about fitness and health and like behavioral change, and I was your guy. It was amazing how quick that happened. I thought that was a skin I'd never shed, but it went so quickly. And that's another thing about life. We get so caught in this little bubble thinking we can't change, and then we make the change and realize actually everyone's view of us has just changed in line with our change. It's amazing how quick it happens. So for me, this coach tag is the biggest gift we'll ever give ourselves. Forget about the coaching others. It's the biggest gift you'll ever give yourself because it sets that marker. I'm about to change. I'm on a new adventure and there's no stopping me. So there. Anyway, I thought I'd share that little reflection with you today. Hopefully these conversations are enjoyable. If they are, please subscribe or whatever you need to do. Press the plus button to follow along. Share these episodes far and wide. If you're in any coaching groups, please do. I'm sure this might be helpful to 1 or 2 people. Keep rocking it on your coaching adventure. And don't forget, go to coachbusiness.school, not .com.school, where you'll find out more if you want to come and train with me, either on our full life coaching certification, our diploma in positive psychology and coaching psychology. If you're already a qualified coach and you want to train with me in business and marketing on the MBA, that course is there. If you want to learn the master skill of alcohol-free performance coaching, that's also available. If you're a qualified coach, go to coachbusiness.school. Until next time, keep coaching. I shall see you soon.